Alright, so with the Resident Evil 4 remake almost assured at this point, I think we've seen plenty of leaks in regards to it, with the DC Douglas Wesker voice lines and revealing his own concept art, to the NVIDIA leak, which listed a bunch of games that were being supported, and the remake being one of them. It's coming. It is coming at some point. So, what I thought I would do is I've covered a lot of information about the remake in the past, things that people would want to see, things that could change, and there is still another video to come this week about the remake in terms of a leak, but today I want to go over what I personally would want to see. This is stuff that's not going to change anything, really. It's more things that could be great additions to the game, and again, it's all personal kind of opinion. It's just my personal wish list, I guess, for Resident Evil 4. So without any further ado, let's jump into it. Be sure to let me know if you agree or disagree with what I want to see in the game. And here we go. So first and foremost, I would love to see the return of a Madhouse style difficulty from Resident Evil 7. For those of you who haven't played Resident Evil 7 or haven't really delved into Madhouse difficulty that much, it is essentially a really hard difficulty. It's super hard. But what Madhouse kind of involved in 7 was, yes, it was difficult, but it added the return of limited saves. So in RE7 it was cassette tapes. Obviously originally it's ink ribbons and typewriters and stuff, but because cassette tapes were a big part of RE7, that was how you saved the game. You could find them scattered around different areas of the game, and again they were limited, so you had very limited use of saves. You had to be careful where you were saving and making sure that you were kind of in a position where you could save. That is a system that could return separately to a Madhouse style difficulty, but it is part of the Madhouse experience in RE7, so it would be cool to see that addition. But even if they added back limited saving just separately to normal difficulty, that would be pretty cool too, because I really like the limited save system. I think it has a whole depth of difficulty that wasn't already there, a lot of strategic planning and stuff like that, and I really do like the system. I was kind of disappointed that it wasn't in Village. I actually think Village of Shadows was quite disappointing as a difficulty, because all it really did was make enemies a lot more tanky and add a few extra enemies to certain fights, but that was about it. But anyway, back to Madhouse. So yes, it included a higher difficulty, limited saving, and the best thing about Madhouse was it remixed everything. There was different enemy spawns, like the faster molded would appear early on. Jack was a bit more active. He was very, very fast when he was chasing you, and he would be a bit more actively roaming. If you kind of recall, after the garage fight, the first fight against Jack, he does go down, and the next time you see him again is when you get to the bathtub and get the wooden statue for the shadow puzzle. But in Madhouse, he's basically instantly back. As soon as you get into the main hall, he's already there, and he does not mess around on Madhouse. So yeah, it remixes enemy spawns, it remixes certain encounters, more so on the first half of the game rather than the last half. And what it also does is change item spawn locations and how you get them. Obviously we all know key items in Resident Evil is kind of necessary, whether it's a key for a door or an item needed for a puzzle or whatever it may be. And they have certain locations or certain means to get them, but Madhouse changed where they were and how you got them. Not massively, but it was enough that you couldn't go through and just remember where everything was or what you had to do to get it. It has a whole layer of replayability to the game that's not there in just playing on normal or hard. And I think it was a great addition to the game. How this could be done in RE4 off the top of my head from what we already have in the game, maybe there's a few extra chainsaw enemies in the fight. In certain later encounters, obviously the chainsaw people kind of appear early on but then disappear. It would be cool to see them come back randomly at certain points. One thing that would be quite unique to how Madhouse difficulty could affect RE4 is have the merchant appear in different locations to where he normally is, if he's even in the remake, which I'd imagine he definitely will be. So having a few extra spawn locations for him on Madhouse difficulty, whether it may be called in this game, if it was to return, would throw people off a little bit. It would kind of have to make you wait to upgrade your weapons a little bit longer, because he's not in the original spots. Which would be pretty nice, and it might be a sign of relief at some points where he's just randomly not where he's supposed to be and you really need him right now, which would be pretty cool. On top of that, there's generic other things like different puzzle solutions. One that comes to mind is the puzzle in the church, where you have to kind of turn the lights on in different orders, like the red, green and blue lights to make the symbol on the wall. That could be different, the solutions entirely could be different. The key cards later on in the game on the island where you first meet the regenerators, they can be in different locations as well, which would be pretty cool. And you know, things like that, not massively changing the game, but you just making it so you don't remember where everything is immediately. It will throw people off, and on top of that it will be hard as well. Madhouse is just a fucking amazing experience, honestly. So yeah, having that return in this game would be pretty cool. Next up we have the option to choose between a more modernised control scheme and the original controls in the game. Now with Resident Evil 4, I quite like the controls. I think they're completely fine. A lot of people, especially newer players who have gone back to play Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 5, Code Veronica, games like that, say that the game is good, but they really suffer when it comes to the controls. Like, they just don't like them, they're not used to them. Which is completely understandable, and you know, I would imagine a remake would preferably try and target an audience by having more modern controls. But for people, you know, like me, who just kind of want to experience the game how it was, but maybe it just looks better and there's additional things to do, can still pick to use those original controls, because again, they really aren't that bad. It just takes some getting used to if you're not familiar with them. But in RE4 and 5, because they're kind of the same control-wise, it's quite good. The controls, again, they do take getting used to, but in those games, they feel pretty good. Another thing that they could do, and this is something that's already been done in the RE2 remake, which was a really nice touch to add to that, is there's an option to pick between the original soundtrack and the remake soundtrack. It wouldn't come as a surprise if they redid some of the music in the game, purely because, you know, it's a remake, they're going to want to redo everything, and having the option to switch between original 2 and remake 2 was really nice. So it's a nice touch, it's a small thing, but the original soundtrack for RE4 is incredible. Some of the tracks are amazing, so having them being able to play in their original state would be pretty nice. Now I've gone over that stuff, there is a couple of things I want to mention that I hope don't change. One of them being the attach case system in RE4. The attach case system in RE4 is far superior than it is in Village. And it does concern me that they might just adopt the Village's look. If you've played Village, you'll know that it is just squares, grey squares. But look at Resident Evil 4's. Everything has unique looks, everything has unique shapes, weapon-wise. It just looks so much better to look at, and your OCD really comes into it when you want to line up things perfectly. Please don't change this. I like having the attach case system in Village, but this version of it is just so much better, so please keep it how it is. Do not touch this. I love this. To be honest, that's the only thing I can really think of that I really don't want to change. Again, just the attach case system is just, it's perfection in that game. I'm sorry, but it just is. But anyway, they are my picks for, you know, what I want to see in the game. Again, I've mentioned this in every single Resident Evil 4 video I've made about the remake. What they are doing is going to be huge. This game has a huge following. Not even considering just Resident Evil fans. You know, this game made waves in how video games are made and how survival horror is kind of portrayed nowadays, at least. And I really can't stress enough that they really have to get this right for the players and the fans of the game, as well as everyone else that's experienced this game. There's going to be a lot more eyes on this than probably RE2 and 3, mainly because this game, again, has such an impact. And people love it. I love it. Everyone loves it. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people do. So hopefully not too much has changed. New additions are always welcome, but try and keep the game that it was still intact in that remake. But that is basically going to be it. Do let me know what you think of my ideas. Just to recap, what I kind of mentioned is limited saves returning to the game would be pretty cool, whether that's with a harder difficulty or just in the normal mode. A Madhouse style difficulty that remixes encounters, remixes where items may be, ammo may be, healing, key items, and remixes puzzle solutions as well. Introduces different enemy types in different parts of the games, and does keep you on your toes, just like how Madhouse does on your first time through. Giving the players a choice to pick between normal controls, well, remade controls, or tank controls, like original controls. Always keep in mind player choice in a game like this, especially a remake. and having the option to choose between the old soundtrack and the new soundtrack, if there is a new soundtrack. I personally think, again, the RE4 soundtrack is a complete banger, so if there's a new one, give me the choice to use the old one as well. And then one thing I mentioned not to get rid of is the beautiful attach case system in RE4. So there you have it. Do leave your thoughts in the comments. Do you want to see anything added to the game that I didn't mention? These are just things I've kind of been thinking about for a while now, the main ones mainly. I'm sure there's others. So do let me know what you guys want to see added to the game that doesn't really change it in a way or remove anything. Let me know what you think of my ideas, and that'll do it. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all tomorrow.